All right, so I think we'll get started. Thanks everybody for coming. It's a good turnout with the students. And before I forget to, after this event, everyone's welcome to head over to the Alumni Center, the bistro room, for a reception with drinks and hors d'oeuvres. So, and that starts at 5 o'clock. So, but first, we have the pleasure of many of our alumni and also some Millennial advisors here to talk to you about many different things, their experiences in the program, many of them PFP, some of them over in the business school, and then also a few advisors that didn't go to Mizzou but want to talk to you about their careers and their companies as well. So I think it's going to be very insightful. How this is going to run is have about 4 alumni, again, alumni and advisors come up at a time, talk to you a little bit about their experiences through college, first few years on the job, and then we'll open it up to all of you to ask questions, right? And then we'll do a rotation with that, okay? And bring another group of advisors. And I think you're going to get a good sense of many different career fields. So we've got fee-only advisors here. We have somebody that's in wholesaling here. We have somebody that's in insurance. So there's tons of different opportunities here and a great chance to network. So before we begin, I do want to, well, let me just start with you 4. So Megan Reichenmeyer is at Matter Family Office in Denver, Colorado. Brendan Stewart's at State Farm in Columbia, Missouri. Lauren Bauer is at, sorry, I knew I'd have to do it, Triad Financial. And Jory Niche is at Steppenwolf in Kansas City. So these are the first 4. So Jory, do you mind starting us off?
No, not at all. What do you want us to say exactly? I mean,
so let's first talk about your experiences in the program. Okay. So what it was like as a student, what leadership things did you do to get you prepared for, getting good jobs, because all of you have good jobs. So what did that look like first? I guess we'll start there.
okay, so can you hear me? So I was really involved in the department with the Office for Financial Success. I was president for a year, was involved for about 2.5 years total. Also did some FPA work as well. So that's kind of my extent with my involvement, both heavily involved with those 2. Yeah.
I got started in the department my sophomore year, so I was a little late transferring in. I didn't know it existed. But once I found it, it was the perfect place for me. I started out taking Ryan Law's financial counseling class, and then from there, I was the service chair in the OFS and the service chair for FPA, and then the next year I continued being the service chair for OFS and was vice president for FPA.
All right, so basically I got started with Dr. Ivy's family finance class. Definitely kind of opened my eyes to a whole new department that I didn't really know much about. And then I ended up taking Ryan Law's class and learned about the Office for Financial Success. During that time, Jory Niche was actually the president, so she hired me on as a counselor, and I did that for about 2 years. Was heavily involved with that, and also with FPA and the NAGDA conventions. So definitely want to recommend getting involved with any of those type of organizations. Definitely help build the resumes and things like that. So that's my extent.
Yeah, and I started out at Mizzou in a different department, speech therapy, and I took Ryan Law's class, financial counseling, and actually whenever I interviewed for the OFS, I was still undecided. But once I got accepted into the OFS and started getting involved in FPA, going to those meetings, I changed to personal finance. Love it, obviously. So my 1 year, I was speaker coordinator for FPA, and my senior year, I was president of FPA. And throughout those times, attended all the FPA conferences, went to Kansas City for an FPA event. I don't know. Tried to, really just dove into the department and all my time in the PFP program.
Great, so is this one? Is this one? All right, there we go. So does any students have questions for these 4 in terms of what experiences they had in the PFP program specifically? Michael.
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming and sharing your time with us this afternoon. My question is whether or not the curriculum that we teach here in the department, did it adequately prepare you for your working careers?
I think it's a really good question. I think a lot of it did help. I work at a fee-only firm, so I would say every single day I use something that I've learned and applied it. But then there are some things that, being in school just can't teach you naturally. It's just the experience. So yes and no. I mean, there's still some stuff you always have to learn, but I would say every single day I remember some piece that I learned from Guillemette's class or Dr. Ivy's, even basic financial planning terms. So yes and no.
Yeah, and I can hit on this too. So a lot of my coworkers graduated from finance departments or economics departments, and so they are really good in those areas, but I feel like I'm very well-rounded and know things about all the different areas. So maybe not super, super in depth in some areas, but it's definitely given me a head start because most no other programs really teach you everything like PFP does.
Thank you guys so much.
Anyone else have a question for these four in terms of in the program? So, sorry.
Round two.
Sorry. Well, I figured if nobody else is going to take the time, then I will. So with the companies that you're currently working for, what type of qualifications or different, like Series 66, 67, 7, what kind of qualifications do they require of you once you got hired on?
Well, again, being fee only, they don't require any certification now to be a planner. So I'm starting out as a financial planning associate. And I think a lot of us kind of have those similar, that's the first step when you get in, because again, you're so new, you don't know everything, and you don't want to go in and start talking to clients and say, oh, well, here's my recommendations, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. So they don't require anything, but to be a planner, and I think we were just talking about this earlier, you need your CFP. So that's the one thing that I think we all say. But then Brendan has a little bit of a different.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's a little different being in insurance, and definitely you want to put yourself above the rest of the crowd in that go ahead and get your property and casualty and your life and health exams out of the way, before you even look for a job. That should be on your resume. I mean, that's something that they're probably not even going to hire you or pay you until that happens. So if you're definitely looking in the insurance field, go ahead and get those two out of the way. And then the Series 6 and 63, those are another exams that you don't necessarily have to have in order to start in insurance, but it's definitely going to be something that's going to set you away from other candidates. So.
Yeah, and in this field, I don't know how much you've been involved in PFP, but there's so many different structures of financial planners in this industry. There's commission, there's kind of people who are called hybrids, so they're half fee only and half commissions, and then there's strictly fee only. And usually in the fee only area, you'll find you don't need Series 63 or
Right, and
those things.
They wouldn't even,
but
even if I had it, they wouldn't necessarily care. So Brendan and I have definitely just totally
Right.
different experiences.
But in the
so-
commission side, it's like a necessity, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
But definitely, I think across all boards, everybody pushes for the CFP. That's just
Yeah, to move up or make any kind of
Yeah.
recommendations, you have to have that.
right.
Thank you guys again.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, so Lauren just passed the CFP exam, so congratulations to that. And so what were your experiences like with that test?
Well, one, I would just like to piggyback on that. Be intentional about where you're going to work and know what they're looking for and what you want to work for. There are places where they don't really think the CFP is all that. Whereas the firm I work for and what I was looking for is somebody who took that seriously. And for my firm to be an advisor, CFP is like the bare minimum. You need to really reach way higher than that, but that's like the bare minimum to be an advisor. But and I would say the program definitely set a good foundation, but there's just so much more that you have to go in and learn for yourself and be memorizing a lot of things for the CFP. But it's more important than just memorization. You really have to understand how it works. You can't just know the definition of something. You have to know how it fits in this situation versus that situation, and if this person makes this much money versus, and you have to consider your clients, but for the CFP, you need to know a wide array. It doesn't matter if you only work for a, wealthy, high net worth firm. It doesn't really matter. You need to know everything But yeah, so I just passed CFP in March, and it was tough for sure. I spent the last year of my life doing nothing but working and studying, so very glamorous. I just studied nonstop, so. Yes.
Good. So any questions so far for them? Yeah. Oh, actually, we prefer. So we're recording it. Yes.
So you all spent some time in the OFS. Do you really think that helped you when you're looking for jobs? Like,
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of time that you're going to spend in the OFS with someone, learning how to talk to people, basically. I mean, all those counseling sessions is really going to make you get away from going into an interview with those clammy hands. I mean, going in there just really nervous. When you have that one-on-one time with so many students, I mean, we did exit counseling, and you would literally meet probably, I mean, I probably sat with 30 or 40 students in like a 3-week period. So sitting down with somebody who might be an engineer student or a law student, it's definitely going to prepare you to be a little bit more relaxed in interviews and things like that. So definitely the OFS is, very important, and it was an important role for myself. So.
It also taught me lots of people's different money styles. So in the OFS, people would come in, especially for the exit counseling, and some people would not even really care what you were saying, just got that glazed over look, like just want to get in, get out. But then I had some people like cry at my desk, and it's the same way whenever you're dealing with clients in the real world. You have some clients who want to know every detail and are so passionate about their finances, and some who are just kind of like, here, you do it. And it's like my employer loves the fact that I've had all that experience in meeting with people and talking with people, because that's, at the end of the day, it was what matters, I think.
I would say that this is a people career, and that you're never going to be, bad off from learning to talk to people. That's the most important thing, I would say, in this career. And if you can make it so you've never met a stranger, then you will be a leg up on anybody else. Even if it's not sales, you still need to know how to talk to people and make them comfortable with you, because if they don't trust you, then they're not going to work with you, regardless of where you go to work.
And just talking to people like in other areas of life about other random things is still very different than talking to people about their money. It's just a lot more personal.
And these are people that have no money, so it's a really good experience, because ideally when you go out and work for whoever, they have money, so it's even a little bit easier, hopefully. But yeah, it's a great experience. I mean, I would suggest to anybody in the department, we always need more counselors in the OFS. It's a good experience, and it's on different levels too, because also I met a lot of people that are like, oh, you're involved, so I want to talk to you. I might want to employ you. So it works, one, because you get experience, but also people want to see that you've done that. So it's beneficial in every aspect.
Also, they send you on a lot of trips.
Yeah, we all went on conferences, and we were talking about this just before the panel, and we all went, and we all didn't regret a single conference we went on. We all met each other, and we're all like best friends now because of it. And I think you kind of care more about what you're doing too when you're in a department that you know everybody and you care about them. So conferences, getting involved in any way, but the OFS gives you that hands-on. That's really awesome.
And if you have an opportunity to go to a conference, take it and talk to as many people as you can. I have people that I met randomly at FPA, never thought it would make any difference. I was just trying to talk to people, get to know people, and learn to break out of my shell. But there are at least 3 people I can think of right off the top of my head who are from totally different states that I still keep in touch with, and they are kind of a mentor to me. If I have questions or, just want an opinion on something or how I'm doing something, if I could do it differently or better, to help me excel, I will reach out to them on LinkedIn, and they are so helpful, and they are super excited to help young people, get better.
So Lauren and Megan specifically, so could you talk a little bit about the FSP challenge? So we try to get students in a lot of competitions to compete against other schools, to show Mizzou is better than everybody else, right, which we are.
And Austin was also
And
on it,
Austin
yeah.
was on this, so
Who
definitely
will be
chime
up
in
here
too.
shortly.
So could you just talk about that experience too?
So, we probably wouldn't have done it if Dr. Gillimet hadn't encouraged us. So I would just like to point out that all of our professors are really good at encouraging you to break out of your shell and do something that maybe you wouldn't have done without their encouragement. But yeah, it was really an exciting experience, and it was great to be able to tell people I was interviewing for that we had won a national competition. We wrote a paper.
Right.
We turned it in. They picked us and 2 others. We went there, we did a presentation, we
To
killed
Arizona,
it.
which is fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
paid full, all expenses paid trip to Arizona.
To
And that
their
was just
conference.
just to compete. And then when we won, I think we got, some money, which was great, but it was even better to have had that under our belt, to have won something. That was crazy.
And the people, and like, I went to that conference and I had a job already, but like, people flocked to us, like, do you need a job? Do you need a job? Let me come work for me after that. So it was awesome.
Austin, do you want to say anything about FSP?
No, I mean, yeah, what they said was pretty awesome. We won a $5,000 scholarship to split between the 3 of us, so that was pretty nice money to have in the last semester college to help pay for some final expenses there. And I had a double bed suite to myself for a weekend, which was pretty awesome. Paid for by the FSP, so it was definitely worth it.
And we got to travel with Michael and Ashley, which is pretty much just an award in itself.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for that. So, and I guess the last thing, and thank you for pumping up the competition. So, the last thing will be for you 4 is just what have your experiences been like first few years on the job, challenges, opportunities, things you do different?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a transition. I only did 1 real internship when I was in school, so I definitely say that'd be another recommendation is if you're, younger in school, just try some places out. Luckily, I just got a really great firm, fee only. Kind of thought that that's what I wanted to do. Didn't want to sell anything. But lucked out and just made a connection. They're a 20-person firm in Overland Park, and I have no ties to Overland Park. So just kind of lucked out there. But yeah, it's just a transition into working every day, being 100% for 10 plus hours for me a day. But it's been really, really awesome. The first year and a half now, it's flown by. But like I was saying earlier, every single day I use something I've learned. And it's really cool. Sometimes I know something that someone else doesn't have because I have a lot of people in my firm that are finance background, so I can always bring a little something extra sometimes. So that's fun. It's just really good experience. I've had nothing but good things this first year and a half working, and gonna take the CFP soon. So, yeah.
I don't think Dr. Guillemette said, but I actually work in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm from Jefferson City. I just knew I didn't want to stay in Missouri. I wanted to go and try something new. I wasn't sure how to go about that because all we talk to mostly is Missouri firms, and I didn't want to stay here. So the CFP board was my best friend. I know that they've probably told you to go on there and post your resume, but if you haven't done that, really seriously do it. I posted my resume and applied for a couple jobs. The job I have, I didn't even apply for. They sought me out because of my resume on there. And I would have probably not ever thought of Greensboro, North Carolina, but it truly has been the best experience I have ever had in my life. They paid for all my costs of moving out there. I was given a great salary. It's exactly the firm I want to work for. It's fee only. I don't have to do any sales. I'm not cold calling, door knocking. And of all the people I work with are so helpful. They were so supportive as I was trying to study and pass my CFP exam, and helpful. There are 6 other CFPs at my firm. So a wealth of knowledge of people to just bounce ideas off of. And if I didn't understand something as I was studying, they were more than happy to come and sit down and walk me through it until I understood it. And I cannot tell you how much of a difference that made when I took the exam, knowing and having their guidance to help me. So I would suggest when you're hunting for a job, talk to as many people as you can. The career fairs are a great way to do that, and find out what you want to go work for. Also, internships are a great way. Work for a sales job. Go work at a fee-only firm. Go work somewhere, try as many things as you can, and then make a list of the things you want in your firm and seek that out. Go on the CFP board, post your resume, interview with lots of different places. I was offered 5 different jobs. That's the one I chose. So just make a list and be intentional about where you want to go and work.
Very nice. Well, unlike these young ladies, my job is sales, sales, sales. So that was definitely a transition, from college. And when you get into a sales position, that you definitely have to kind of set your own goals and set your own expectations. You're not going to have someone, counting on you to be there for them. You're pretty much going out there to do the things on your own. So Just a little bit about myself. I recently, after a year in my current position at State Farm, decided to take another opportunity at a similar office, just across town actually. So I took a higher up sales position, and it's tough when you get locked in someplace in a job. You think this might be where I'm at, but opportunities don't always come around, and when they do, it's okay to take those opportunities. So whether that's interviewing with an OFS counselor or anything like that, just jump on some of those opportunities because they're not always going to be there. And another thing with sales is it does get better. It might be kind of difficult at first, but you really start to get a knack for things. I used to be hesitant with phone calls, cold calls. Now I can make 50 cold calls a day, and it's not an issue. I don't have any reluctancy to pick up the phone, and that's really how you're going to grow. And sales is doable, just like this financial planning course is. You're going to get through it, as we're proof of that. It's everybody always says, oh, it's the worst thing, but you're really in insurance. It is sales, but you're also providing something that someone has to have anyway. So. It's definitely been great for me, and I would definitely recommend if anyone has any questions about insurance or getting started with any of that, please talk to me today. I'd be happy to spend some time.
So, like all these guys said, even if you learn things in class, there's still going to be a learning curve with anything. It's different putting something that you learn in the books into real life. So lots of learning curves, but it's so this year, I'm coming up on a year now, I think Lauren is as well, and it's crazy to think how far I've come and how much you learn and pick up over this year, and how your knowledge of what foundation the PFP program has laid for you and how that builds and builds. But I guess my biggest piece of advice is don't be hesitant, meet with anybody, learn about all sorts of different financial planning firms out there that you can, because I went to all these conferences and all the FPA events and listened to all these speakers. And so I met my firm. I had an internship last year in St. Louis, and someone who worked at my internship had worked at the firm that I work at now, and she gave me a couple names of different professionals in St. Louis, and I met with several different firms, and I automatically knew as soon as I met with the people at Matter Family Office, I was just I love this firm. I have to work here someday. But at the time, they didn't even have a job opening. So I just met with them just on a whim. They said, if anything comes up, we'll be in touch. And sure enough, a few months later, they called me and I interviewed. And so it's not like this was a job posting that was anywhere. And that's how my firm, and I'm sure a lot of other firms, hire a lot. We have usually have a couple people that we're keeping our eyes on, and whenever a position opens up, that's who we call first. So don't be hesitant to just call up firms and meet with anybody. And if nothing else, it's just an awesome learning experience to learn about the industry.
Any questions for the alumni? So, yes, Jim Deutsch.
So my question is, as my firm has evolved and we're evolving, we're a 100-year-old firm, and actually I have two millennials sitting next to me who just came to work for Smith Moore, but I'm curious from your all's perspective, what we're having to adapt to is the millennials and how to interact with you, how to change, how to so on and so forth. So what is your advice back to employers about making a great work environment, or what is it that you're looking for? Because the way I interact with them is much different than I interact with others, and so I'm curious to that effect.
You stole my question, Jim. That's okay. I was waiting till you went up with Kim and Daniel, but it's okay. Definitely great question.
For me, I wanted to be in a situation where I could learn as much as I could possibly learn. So I am so thankful that the place I work, they don't treat me like an intern or a peon. They encourage me to be involved in the meetings, and I sit in on every meeting, and I'm learning about the clients, and I'm doing a little bit of everything, and that has helped me so much, especially on the CFP, but helped me so much to learn, and I feel like when I'm learning, I'm succeeding, I'm growing, I'm getting better, and that's an awesome feeling, and that is definitely what I look for.
I would say real quick, just a little bit about letting us incorporate our technology into some of the office, whether it be through setting up an office Facebook page, or even just letting us have some cell phone time is a big thing for some millennials. I think that goes a long way. So, exactly.
Like a smoking break.
And I'd say part of the reasons why I love my firm so much is because they're always on the cutting edge, trying to find out what's new, what's next, like what are other firms not doing that we can do, and that's so exciting to me because I think a lot of you guys will find that some firms in the financial industry are kind of stuck, it seems like, and a couple years back. So that was really appealing to me. And also, there's a partner at my firm who's designated just a culture and figuring out culture things and how, like, what are other top like companies doing for culture. And I don't know, like they let me come here today and they were so pumped that I was here, even though we're not hiring or anything like that. It was just, they're just really interested in me gaining knowledge and getting out there and learning more. So that's cool.
Yeah, my firm's definitely been excited. There's kind of the younger group again, like all my level, the financial planning associates, and they're all very eager to and kind of incorporate us in the planning of the future a little bit. So a lot of our clients now, we're trying to target getting younger clients. So they're trying to use us to like, okay, so how should we talk to them a little bit? So, and then like what you said about the Facebook page, I actually just worked on that for my company. It's a funny example. So yeah, we're trying to just help each other. So we try to, go in with the idea of, I want to learn everything I can from you. But yeah, we have some different ways of communicating. Let us kind of work back and forth. So my firm's definitely, not that like Megan referenced, there's some firms that are stuck. My firm isn't necessarily stuck, but they're one of the firms that's kind of been stuck to tradition a little bit. Like, well, this is the way we've always done it. And we have a lot of clients we've had for 30 years, and this is the way they like to do it. But then we have clients that we've had for 5 years, and they're in their 30s, and they want, reports different. They want them on their iPads, and, we don't do that all the time. So just incorporating.
I have one more point. I know you have offices in different cities like we do, and we use this app called Slack. Have you ever heard of it?
I tried to get them on it, and they're like, oh, no.
You got to do it. We just started a few months ago, and it's awesome. It's basically, it's like a messaging app, but for companies. So you can talk one-on-one, direct messages to people, or group messages. And it's a lot of fun, and I can get a hold of the people in our other offices whenever I'm doing stuff for them, and post funny things, and it's awesome. Check it out. Okay.
Yeah, I laugh at the millennial thing because our old dean, Dean Jorgensen, who just retired, when I got to Dr. Wigley's retirement party, he looked at me and goes, "Oh, no, good to see you." He's like, "You invited me on Facebook." And I was like, "Yeah, I invited you to the event on Facebook." That was like a shock to him that somehow, and a lot of people got invited that way. So, but that's great, and we're going to actually continue that theme of what do millennials want in just a moment. But any other questions for these four alums? And we're going to, go to Gerald first, and then Kim.
Any additional advice you would give to us emerging into the workforce that you can give us as we search for jobs and things you guys wish you may have done before you found your jobs and things like that?
I think we've probably touched on a couple of things, but just to reiterate, doing the internships, getting involved, wanting to know what you're going to do. Like fee-only firms, so I think Megan and I and Laura are more like fee-only, and you don't get to experience those as much at some of those bigger events that you'll go to that are recruiting events. You get a lot of the bigger firms. So I'd say just definitely reach out and educate yourself, and like even us, come talk to us after this if you're like, maybe fee-only is what I want to do. We can give you some advice, but and then when you're in school, just get involved. This department, it's basically like, here, get involved, please do it. And it's harder to not get involved, in my opinion, than it is to get involved. And and in all seriousness, there's always people, like I said, the OFS always looking for people. FPA, it's like welcome you in, and you'll meet people that way, fellow students, but also people you might want to work for, and you'll just get experience. So just be involved, and that'll just help you while you're in school.
Just to reiterate her point, don't pass up opportunities. There's just no reason for it. They are handed to you here on a silver platter I mean, you're encouraged on every level. There's really no reason not to be going to the meetings, joining the clubs, doing the internships, going to the job fairs. The people that I see that are really excelling in their careers are the same people that were in all those groups with me. And the people that I see who go and they knock the financial planning career because they couldn't get a job or couldn't hack it, those are the ones who just sometimes went to class, maybe not even that, and then want to complain about, you know, why things weren't just given to them. That's not going to happen. You need to go out there and you need to work as hard as you can, do everything you possibly can to make yourself the best possible candidate, and then go get a great job and then continue to do that, and you will be successful for sure.
Even if you get involved in just one thing, I mean, you know, we were heavily involved, so we're very passionate. If you haven't gotten that from what we're saying, but just even getting involved with one thing, getting involved with the FPA. I mean, just do something. Again, you're gonna want something on your resume too. You don't want to say, "Oh, I went through school and I graduated," and you know, even if you have a job, I know a lot of students, you know, had a part-time job, so work and just throw something else in the mix. And get to know your professors, she says.
And real quick, just be confident. I would say don't settle for the first job offer. I mean, unless it's something that you really, really want.
But I didn't settle.
Right. You know, ask around a little bit, negotiate a little bit in that interview if you can. Be confident. I mean, you guys are going through a really tough program, and I consider it should be looked at highly by employers. So be confident, hold your head up. Look yourself in the mirror before you leave for that interview and just say, you know, you're going to get this. You know,
Ask
you're really
questions
going to
in the
get this
interview.
today. So.
Nobody ever asks questions in interviews. Like my firm's noticed that. So like kind of going off what you said, like be confident, but also if you don't necessarily know, like if maybe you looked at their website and you're like, well, this kind of looks weird, ask questions. Just figure out what their firm's about, because that way you'll know. If you don't ask questions and then you start working there, you're like, well, maybe if I would have asked that question, it would help. So.
And we don't expect people to know
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
what all we do. So.
Right.
Great, Kim, you had a question?
So I would say, going back to kind of their question about millennials, how have you guys been able to successfully get your companies to kind of move a little bit and able to incorporate more things?
It's been a struggle.
I can tell you. We started text messaging customers in my office, so that was something that they had been working through corporate already, but when I got in there, I was like, listen, we have to do this. This is what everybody responds to. Some people don't even listen to their voicemails, even though it's very easy on iPhones now to just listen to the voicemail. So we started text messaging. Actually, even instead of a cold call, we would send out a cold text message to someone who had gotten online, per se, and looked at an insurance quote. So I have seen some success with that, and that we're getting more response rather than just making a phone call.
Great. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say I don't have anything.
All right, so we're next. So we're going to rotate, and so let's thank these four. And next up, let's have Smith Moore. So Jim Deutsch, Kim, Daniel. Jim, if you want to come up. Jim, I said if you want to come up, I think it's good to have a unique perspective here, because you asked a great question about what it's like working with millennials. So I think it'll be good to have you up there. And then let's see how I want to do this. So we've still got Sarah Austin and Taylor. So Taylor, do you mind? Taylor's from American Century, so Taylor's going to come up as well and talk with Jim and Kim and Daniel. So we've got Taylor Ahern, American Century, and she's going to talk to you about, she's a very, very unique position, which I love, and she came at a moment's whim, so I thank her for that. And then, Jim, Kim, and Daniel from Smith Moore. So first, if you don't mind just telling the students a little bit about yourself, what you do, and for the students, kind of what it looked like in terms of the program. So Taylor went through our program, yes, a while ago. No, not that long ago. But then Kim and Daniel are unique. I think, Kim, you were in the business school? Right? And then Daniel, you can tell us. So a little bit unique perspective where not everybody is an alum of the PFP program. So.
All right. I actually went through the business school as well with finance and banking emphasis. I got a minor in economics. So that's that's the route I took.
And sorry, what do you do with Smith Moore?
Oh, I'm a wealth management associate, just like Kim here, and I work in the Jeff City branch. And so just right now I'm in the process of passing some exams. Did the 7 and the 66, working on life and health, sitting in on some client meetings, and just learning from 2 advisors I work with.
I'm Kim, like you said. Oh, okay. I actually was in the business management school, and I got an emphasis in entrepreneurship. And then I have a minor in fine arts as well. So I'd kind of paint in the morning, and then I'd go to business school in the afternoon. So I'm kind of well-rounded, I guess, in that sense. When Smith Moore actually kind of sought me out, they were really interested in the entrepreneurship side of things. I told them I didn't have much finance experience at all, but I've grown to love the industry a lot. And I'm in the same position he is with wealth management. I'm still taking my exams too. And I do a lot of helping my 2 financial advisors I work with kind of look at different reports, and they'll ask me about different groupings of funds they might be putting together and what they think about this. And I've been helping with lots of paperwork and that kind of stuff, which has really, I just dove right into the industry, both feet, fully.
And marketing.
And marketing. I'm doing lots of marketing, preparing seminars, that kind of stuff, reaching out to people. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff.
How's the marketing been in terms of millennials, for example?
Oh, it's been interesting. A lot of our clients, I would say easily, 80% of the people that we work with are over the age of 50. So I brought up things like Slack, and maybe we can use other different means of reaching out to them. And I've been kind of getting some feedback as far as, well, our clients are all older. They're not going to, we can't scan them a document. They don't know how to open it and print it and scan it back. So we have to bring it to them and have them sign it at their house, kind of thing. So I've been trying to really push back as far as, if we're going to market towards them, you can't just send somebody a letter in the mail, they're going to throw it out, I promise. So kind of getting them to understand different ways to reach them, things like the text messages and that stuff, where you really got to put it in their face and say, look, you need this, and we're not selling you. We're giving you information, and we're going to help you. So I've been working towards that a little bit.
Great. And then Taylor, do you want to tell us a little bit, kind of what you did in terms of the program, and then also what you're doing now at American Century?
Okay, so like you said, my name's Taylor. I'm in a very interesting spot. Most people are advisors here. And so how I found out about my position was I went to a PFP meeting. I was very involved, same story as all those gals that spoke. So I had a wholesaler come speak with us, and I was like, that is the life I want. Do any of you guys work with wholesalers? Anybody? Yeah. They're fun people, right?
For sure.
So what a wholesaler is, for those of you that don't know, well, I guess I should start. I started at American Century in the call center. I did that for 7 months, and I got to the desk, which is our internal desk. What we do at American Century is we manage mutual funds, and we sell those to individual investors, very similar to your advisor's standpoint, but we also sell them to financial advisors, which in return build a portfolio and sell them. So these advisors are packaging the best portfolios possible. So an American Century fund, we're going to use American funds here and whatever everywhere. So what I wanted to do, what I was doing for a while up in the state of Wisconsin, was I would go to these financial advisors. I mainly did most of my work on the phone, and we try to sell them our funds. And I can say the reason I wanted the job was there's a lot of fun sides to it. You're taking a lot of people to baseball games, football games, taking them out to bars. I know you said this was recorded, so I'm kind of hesitant on what I say. But you do a lot of, it's a really fun job. It's a lifestyle, though. I met my husband on the internal desk, and we couldn't have 2 wholesalers in our household. It just wasn't a healthy lifestyle. So I now manage about $500 million in high net worth assets. So that's all I do now. It's a very similar system, but I'm not fee-based, or I guess you could call me towards the commission side, but I'm not. I have my 6, 7, and 63. I'm actually getting my MBA instead of my CFP right now, but after my PhD, then I'll do the CFP. So that's a really brief overview. I know it's a very interesting world, is the wholesaling world. So just ask questions if you want to know more.
So, and I'm going to open up for questions in just a second. But so American Century, I thought, did something really unique, and probably the coolest thing I've seen from an employer since I've been here, to stay on our bar theme here. So what they did is they had a bunch of internships opportunities, okay? And so they opened up the rooftop bar downtown, had a bunch of food, drinks. It was awesome. And there were students from all, business school, PFP, and human sciences there. And I thought it was, again, probably the coolest thing that a company has done in terms of reaching millennials. And as I don't see a lot of companies doing stuff like that, but I think it worked out really well for you guys, and please speak to this in terms of the hiring process and getting people excited about your firm.
Yeah, so American Century, what I really like about it, it's a very classy firm. I've had a lot of opportunities to do really fun stuff in my job, but I also have worked extremely hard to get where I am. But American Century, after seeing, of course, I went to the HR department. I'm on the board with Jim, and I'm like, this is an awesome program. Why haven't you guys been hiring? Mizzou was never on American Century's radar. They typically go to Ivy League schools. They don't typically come to state schools. So I kind of just annoyed them until they finally came here. And so they love the program. They love that you get tax experience, estate planning experience, just, as you guys all know, everything. So now they've decided for 1 year they're only going to hire PFP students. So this is a great opportunity for you guys. It's only for the internship program. They've never done this before. It's great because you can get into our firm without having your license, which is typically impossible for what we do. And so if you're ever interested in American Century, this is the year, because if these interns do well, it will keep going. If they don't, well, then it's opened up to everybody again. So so they love the program.
Yeah, we want to keep our exclusive agreement.
It's a very sink or swim industry.
I'm curious, did anybody here intern with American Century?
It hasn't started yet.
Oh.
Did you get one? Congratulations.
Yeah.
You have to come find me.
Awesome. So, all right. So let's continue with this theme. So Jim, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. So you had opened up with this question about working with millennials, but I guess could you expand on that a little bit more in terms of challenges you faced, and then I'll put your employees on the spot, and we'll talk a little bit more about, and not just your employees, because I know he's your boss, right? So that's a little awkward. But maybe it opened up to all of you. Actually, probably better open up to the students to see what are some things that you'd like to see from employers going forward. I know for me, and some of the things that the other alumni didn't touch on was things like dress, right? I'm not wearing a tie right now. Things like work-life balance, I didn't hear. So touch on some of those things, I guess, as well, if you want. So.
What I view as our biggest challenge is bringing in the next generation of advisors. And so that's the average age of a financial advisor, at least in our space, which is commission and fee, by the way, is 56, 57 years old. And so that creates a ton of opportunity for you all. However, and that's why we've embarked on our wealth management associate positions. We're up to, 8 of you now? However, exactly what Kim said is we're challenged at how do we embrace what they want and still stay within this crazy juggernaut of regulatory compliance and so on and so forth. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you can't even keep up anymore. And so, so that to me is one of the biggest challenges because I know they're frustrated. And so to me, that's a huge challenge. And then exactly what she said, how do you take where our bread and butter comes from, which is right now the baby boomers, and look forward to the generation that has no money at the moment, but yet will become the generation that will inherit all the money. And so to me, that's the biggest challenge, and that's why we need to continue to have people like you all come work for us.
And I'll put you on the spot too. In terms of succession planning comes up a ton when I'm at conferences. So as Jim said, average age of the advisor is approaching 60, right? Eventually they need to retire. They will retire. So what is your firm doing right now in terms of a succession plan? Because Smith Moore has offices in Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, tons of branches. So I'm just curious to get your take on what does that look like in terms of younger advisors moving up into more senior roles?
Well, we realize that that the days of whoever it was from State Farm, applaud you because that's how I did it. But the day of getting a phone book and saying, go make 300 cold calls and so on and so forth is just not the way it's going to work anymore. So that's why we have embarked on our wealth management associate. And so the ultimate goal is that they will come in and make themselves indispensable to the advisors that they work for, and that ultimately that will become the natural transition plan for the advisors. And so that's how I view the world. And our first wealth management associate came right out of this program 8 years ago, and now he works with me and another advisor, and 31, 32 years old, and is where you all dream to be from an income perspective, and he's extremely happy. And so that's what I want to see for them, and that's what I want to see for the rest of the people that come out of the program, that we continue to hire. So that's our answer to succession planning, is not to make it forced. And so they can comment, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, so Kim and Daniel, I'd just love to get your take on just kind of what we talked about there. Maybe expand a little bit more about the things as millennials you'd like to see, and also about if you're thinking about the succession planning in regards to moving up in the company, because that's something we didn't really touch on with the first group. So,
Sure. Don't hold back.
All right. I think it's pretty cool. In my office, I work under two of them, two FAs, and the coolest thing about it is both of them are almost completely opposite on their investing styles. You know, some days of the week I get to work with one, other days work with the other, and I kind of trying to find a happy medium, kind of combine the two styles. I think that's really unique, and my office is right between theirs, so they're always there if I need any questions, and it's really interesting to see two completely different opinions, but they both have the same goal overall for their clients, so that's really interesting so far.
So I guess as far as the succession planning goes, the two FAs that I work with are rather opposite as well, in the sense that one of them is pretty laid back. He goes way out of his way for all of his clients. If he's going to be out of town for a couple days, he's sending all of them a note that he typed up and hand signed with a little thing on it that if you need anything, please call my cell phone, or which is something that I wouldn't even cross my mind. I'm going out of town for 2 days. I'm not going to write a letter to 150 different clients or so. Like, that's way, we wouldn't think to do that as millennials. And my other FA I work with is a lot younger. He's really involved with Mizzou athletics. He has a daughter who's a freshman here, so he's pretty involved in texting and that kind of stuff. So the way they do things is very, very different. And so trying to balance ideas that will, appeal to the one who's much more, he writes personal birthday cards. He's all about that kind of stuff, as well as, my other FA I work with who's a little more comfortable sending clients text messages and that kind of stuff. But so both of them are interested in looking to retire in the next couple of years, and when they hired me, they said, we want you in the long run. We don't want a millennial who's going to job hunt kind of thing, because that is something that I've run into employers being scared of, is that they're going to get us through this training period, or they're going to have us for 6 months and give us everything they've got, and then we're going to leave. And so that was something that they made very clear is, we want you here for the long run, and we want you to meet every single client we have. And while you're meeting them, you're going to get to know them, their kids, when their birthdays are. We want to know if they had a new baby. We want to send them a gift, and we want to make sure that they're, well aware that we're thinking about that 529 plan that they need to open up and everything. So that's something that I really like to kind of push on them, is making sure that I'm open to sitting in on every client meeting, and I also want to get to know their clients just as well as they do. Whether, like I kind of mentioned, we do have some clients that we like to go to their house and, deliver a check directly to them instead of having it mailed to them and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of been interesting to try and work together the two different styles as far as getting to know their clients and what their clients like to do.
I guess that's kind of, I guess that's similar to my branch too. I sit in on each of their clients' meetings, and what they always tell me is your book almost starts to look like you. And that's true. I can tell with their clients, and it's really cool to see the different styles of investing and meet their families and have that, long-term plan.
So I'll say one other thing, and in regards to Daniel, it's just something that I know about him, where somebody talked about get involved. So he takes one of his hobbies, which is hunting and fishing, to an ultimate extreme, where and that's his ability to network with people as well, of similar people, so where you said you become what you look like. So that's where you got to get involved, and that's how you're ultimately going to meet people so that you can also build your own book of clients or whatever it may be as well. So that was one of the things that when Dean and Greg hired him stood out to them is not what his resume necessarily was, but how he was involved. And so I think that that's really, I heard that earlier, and I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, kind of. We're doing the same thing at our firm with, I was really involved in the entrepreneurship community here in Columbia, and I'm actually part of an incubator downtown that has 25 different companies that work with them. And so I know a lot of people that are small business related, and they've become very successful in the last 5-10 years here in Columbia. It's a huge growing part of Columbia. And so that was one thing that they really wanted me to get involved with more is, going to all these networking things. And I'll say, hey, I have this lunch today. And they're like, go, go talk to them. Go make sure they know what you're doing and how we can help them, and kind of get your foot in the door with things that I was involved with from college, more so than just trying to cold call people like you kind of talked about.
Any questions for these four?
I got a question, Jim. Can you tell us a little bit about what your company is doing to relate to millennials? Not only hiring them, but as we said, kind of the baby boomers are starting to leave that reign, and we're starting to take some of those reins on. Can you tell us kind of how you will relate to us now and kind of in the future?
I would say we're behind. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind we're behind from the sense of a social media presence, all the technology. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind we are behind. And so my answer at the moment is to hire these types of people, and we're actually getting together this summer because our class is very big this summer, and so, or this year. And so my goal is to actually bring them together and let them tell us realistically, what we can do to work on it. Is it going to be instantaneous? No, but I know we're behind, so that's why I'm trying to learn how can I support them while still knowing that we're behind the 8 ball. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it's just the honest answer as I see it.
I was going to say, we're talking a lot about the employers adapting to the millennials, but I would be very careful. My advice to you guys would be, when I got into work, do not act like a millennial, do not talk like a millennial, that's my advice. Is I guess I worked for maybe an older firm. I was the only millennial on the whole internal desk. So don't go in there playing on your phone, all of the social media. Obviously, it's good to know and use at some point, but just be very careful. Wear a suit and tie to every interview. I know I didn't dress appropriately, but like you said, I just found out a day ago about this. But wear a suit and tie every time. Don't be asking about the gym policy and like dorky policies. I know it's important, but do your research and know before you go. At the interviews, I've recently had people ask me questions like that. Just don't act like a millennial when you go in. That would be my advice.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I am easily the youngest in my office of 7 people, or the one branch I'm at, by 30 years maybe, we would say. Now, several of them have kids about my age, so they do kind of understand, but there's several times, oh, what's your LinkedIn look like? I don't remember my password for LinkedIn. It's like, oh. They had requests from clients and stuff, and I was like, you can't ignore your client's request on that kind of, platform. It's something we need to move towards. So, yeah, I would say definitely there is a sense that you need to kind of put your millennial foot forwards, but at the same time, if you start saying, we're doing this and you guys are wrong here, they're going to say, no, you're wrong. We've been successful, and we need to kind of, so there's definitely a fair balance there.
Well, I guess I'm seeing that from, I don't do my own marketing or anything like that. I have an admin, I have a marketer that do it all for me. Yeah. So I don't, with that, I'm sure you do need to, but I'm just saying from like an interview and how you present yourself.
Yes.
Be very careful, and then like alcohol intake. I was talking about that earlier. Like hunt, you probably don't drink while you hunt, hopefully. But I try to do the same thing with golfing because I love to golf, and I've gotten jobs from the golf course clients. I used to work in Wisconsin, so the best golf courses, in my opinion, in the country. So just be careful how you present yourself with that. So.
Yeah, it's very easy when you're in stuff like that to kind of relax too much. I golf as well, and my dad's taken me on several of his professional outings, and You know, when I'm golfing with my friends, it's a very different, when the ball hook's right, you say things differently than you do when you're with professionals. You guys know what I'm saying. So it is, you have to kind of be aware of where you are and who you're talking to and what your goal is out of being with clients.
Well, thank all of you so much.
I have to say,
oh,
one.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
So there's probably a famous story about me that's told in the 8 o'clock sophomore class where we talk about know who your audience is. And it's, remember that the person that is hiring you is not a millennial. And so you have to write a handwritten thank you note. Email, I'm starting to adapt there, but the true story is that somebody was going to get the position that she wanted, dream job. She was going to work with Julie Neiman, who's a very large name in St. Louis, and she wanted the job, and all she had to do was write the thank you note, and it did not come, and she didn't get the job. And so I can't stress to you all enough that remember that the person that's most likely hiring you is not a millennial. And so all those little things are so important. And so I heard it earlier today, and I wanted to make sure that that's coined after me. And so I want to make sure that
And I hear that from a lot of employers, that if you don't write, don't send the email thank you, all right? It takes 2 seconds. There's no courtesy behind it, right? It's thoughtless. So send the handwritten thank you note, because a lot of, it's not just Smith Moore, it's a lot of companies where they said, they were great, but there was no follow-up. There was no handwritten thank you note, and we gave somebody else the job. So it is. I mean, that personal touch is lost sometimes because of all the technology, I think. So.
Hey, Michael, I have one other thing. I was going to ask, too, because one thing that kind of helped me, is anybody worried about finances when they do take a job at an advisor that you kind of start from scratch? Is that anybody's concern? If not, I won't talk about it. Yeah. Well, I know when I was in the program, my biggest concern is, because I probably was too logical for my age, if I take this job and I don't start off with a steady income, what's going to happen? And I know you guys probably salary a lot of people right off the bat. One, I'm going to say don't be afraid. It's the only time you can still live with your parents and start, because you can do so well if you start from scratch. But just be aware there's other options in the industry, things like wholesaling. Most your income does come from commission, but just know there are options where, I get to have a base salary, and that's one thing I just couldn't be comfortable with not having a base. So there are options. Don't be scared, because I know a lot of those small companies are, here's a phone book, you're going to go knock doors until you just start making money. There are options, and I was nervous about that. So.
You're right.
Well, thank you so much. We've got 4 more advisors, so we've got to keep moving. So let's give them a hand. So next up, we'll have Sarah Suntrup from Moneta Group, Austin Lewis from Plan Corp, Josh Miniker from AXA, and Kevin Adams from AXA. I think that is all. I got everybody, right? Okay. So let's start out here. So AXA advisors have been great. Worked with Kevin a little bit, and also Mark Hanna, Michael as well. And a lot of you know them. They've come to campus a ton, speak to all of our classes, our FPA groups. So we're incredibly thankful for that. And it was funny because I told Mark for this event, and he's a little bit older, and not too old, but said, hey, why don't you sit back? We're having this great event, but why don't you sit back and bring Kevin and somebody else. So that was great. So thank you for being here. And so you two did not go through the PFP program, but Sarah and Austin did. So this will be kind of good in terms of just start out by telling everybody kind of what you do. And for Sarah and Austin, talk about your experiences in the program. And then for the AXA advisors, talk about kind of how you started out, maybe series exams and those types of things. So if you don't mind.
All right. So I was very involved in the program. And that's definitely something you need to do. It's an opportunity for everybody in the program to get involved in an organization, 2 organizations, 3 or 4 like myself. Just go out there and do it. It'll give you good leadership skills and obviously something to put on your resume to make you stand out amongst other people interviewing for the same job. So this is a great program. It really did help prepare for my career. I mean, as well as the best program in the world could have, but there's things that you have to learn after graduation. And I'd say I've learned just as much as I learned here after graduation. It's just a completely different book of knowledge that you obtain after actually working. So you're not going to start working and know everything. You're going to feel kind of dumb. Google's really good. And you should feel lucky being kind of the dumbest person that you're working with. It's beneficial to be the dumbest one and only be working with smarter people. I think that's really cool because I learn new things every day at work, and you have to realize you're never going to know everything. There's always going to be something else to learn. So I work at Moneta Group, and I'm in kind of, I guess, like an intro paraplanner kind of position, like a lot of us are. And we do what I really like about Moneta is we do everything for our clients. We do estate planning, tax planning, investment planning, risk management. We do all aspects of financial planning, and it's all done in-house. We have estate planning attorneys, we have CPAs, we have resources in-house, and it's very convenient because when your clients have a question you don't know, you don't have to research it. You can just call the tax department, and they'll be able to help you right away. It's really beneficial. I work at a fee-only firm, so I've always thought that's the route to go, just because it takes different personalities to do like a commission-based, fee-based, fee-only, and I'm definitely fee-only. So I'd say the first thing that you should probably, try to figure out before you start interviewing is how you feel about fees. That's a big prominent factor in this industry. So figure that out first before you interview. That's my advice.
All right. My name's Austin Lewis. I graduated from the department in May 2015. So, like several other people up here, I was pretty involved in the department. I served as an officer in the Office for Financial Success. I did something on the board of FPA. I think I was an events coordinator. But we all just helped out, did whatever needed to be done anyway. As far as what everybody said, it's really a no-brainer in my opinion. I've actually been able to, with my firm, which is Plan Corp, we're just about to break the 50-person mark. But I've actually been able to sit on the panel who's been interviewing new candidates this past year, which has been a great experience. But that's the first thing that I looked for when I was going through resumes was what was this person doing outside of school, outside of their part-time job? Were they taking on leadership positions in their campus? Obviously the OFS and FPA are outstanding opportunities to get involved with something that's relevant to what we do here. But even just whether or not somebody's involved with a fraternity or a community group on campus, any kind of leadership opportunity really sets you apart from other candidates. So my role with Plan Corp is a planning associate, similar to a lot of these other young professionals here. So we're a fee-only comprehensive planning firm, and we work in all aspects of the financial planning process. And I've had absolutely outstanding experience so far. I couldn't have asked for a better place to land as far as culture and pretty much doing exactly what I thought I would be doing at this point in my career and after leaving the program. And I actually just passed my CFP exam in March, so thank you. So I'm very glad to have that behind me, and the program puts you in a great, pushes you in the right direction to have the tools you need to start studying and get that knocked out. Not too many people can come out of college and within less than 1 year be able to pass the CFP exam, so I think that's a great mark on the program and how the professors here prepare us and put the CFP exam as one of the top priorities. So yeah.
All right. At a Mizzou alumni event. I'm not a Mizzou alumni, so sorry. Don't hold it against me. I was born and raised in St. Louis, so very familiar with Mizzou. Mom, sister, all my friends, pretty much everyone from my high school just migrated over to Mizzou. So I'm around here a lot, but I actually went to school at a small school up in Chicagoland, in Naperville, Illinois, and started my career with AXA there. And I said, kind of talk about testing, life and health. I took my end of my senior year of school, just kind of take it on your own. Then the summer after I graduated, went through and passed the 7. And then at AXA, we bring you on board after you have your 7, and you're kind of in like a pre-employment period where, to echo what everybody else has said, everything that I learned, I couldn't tell you what I learned in my corporate finance class or even what's on the Series 7, to be honest. Everything that I learned was from other advisors. So pretty much for my first year, I had somebody else on almost every case that I went on. There was a lot of kind of introductory meetings and discovery meetings and fact-finding that I was able to do on my own pretty quick. But pretty much anywhere that there was an opportunity to, I would bring somebody else with me, and not just one person. I brought a lot of people with me because there's always kind of, everybody has a little bit different appeal from it. So like you guys work with 2 advisors and kind of get the best of both worlds. I probably learned and have little parts of what I do and how I run my business from probably 8 to 15 advisors, depending on how much parts of my business you're going to look into. And yeah, so then I actually, my hiring manager got promoted, and that's Mike Blakey. He's been to a couple of meetings and a couple of classes here with me, but he's old too, so Michael said he couldn't come. And he got promoted and took over and is now the branch manager of our Kansas branch, which is in Overland Park, Kansas, right by Kansas City, and asked me to come down and run a division at a part of that branch. And, you talked about kind of what you want to look for when you're coming into something is really culture-based. I still to this day kind of say I didn't come to AXA because of AXA. I didn't come to AXA because of my branch manager in Illinois. I came to AXA because of Mike. He's my manager and my boss, technically, but he's a good friend of mine. We hang out, every time we come to Mizzou, it's a 2-hour drive here and a 2-hour drive back, so we have to kind of enjoy each other's company. So that was a really big part of what brought me to AXA, and what's kept me here is just kind of the culture. It fits me really, really well. It's a competitive culture, but more on a kind of teamwork side. You're all on the same team, so if Josh does well, even in the St. Louis branch, it's different than our branch. It's good for all of AXA. It's good for everybody in our state here. And so it's nice to have kind of that camaraderie behind you, but it's also nice to have kind of that competition behind you. So, if Josh does well and hires well or hits a big case, I'm going to see that, and I'm going to want to hire well or hit another big case and just kind of go above that and above and beyond. But really what's kept me here is that resounding team culture and the teamwork of everything. Everybody in our office is going through the exact same thing that I'm going through. When I have a bad day, when I go on 10 appointments and don't close any of them, which is a really bad day, somebody else has been there, and it's not just some of the younger millennials that are in the office with me that are, doing it right now. It's also nice to have your 60, 70-year-old advisor that's kind of at the peak of their career that's like, I know, I've been there, I did that too. Everybody went through the grind, everybody did it all pretty much the same way. And so it's really nice to have a group around you to kind of pick you up when you're down and you're like, man, this is miserable. So yeah, I just kind of, it's my story a little bit.
So I also did not attend Mizzou. Went to school around St. Louis and currently am in the St. Louis AXA branch. My background was a little different than almost everybody in this room. I was actually a biomedical sciences major. Was deciding between medical school or law school. And then I happened to run into a family friend who ran a pretty big practice, financial practice up at home, which is around Champaign, Illinois. And he talked me into doing a pretty popular college internship with a major financial services firm. So I did that, and, there was a lot of good to doing that internship. It gave me so much experience, and it gave me a lot of knowledge in the field to come out and, while I felt there were some things I certainly did not enjoy, being a 23-year-old and starting at AXA full-time, there's no way that I would have been able to be as successful as I've been so far without that experience. So, one of the things that really drew me to AXA, and kind of like a lot of you mentioned, don't be afraid to take an opportunity. After I graduated college, I was actually working for a different financial services firm and happened to kind of be looking around, so I'm not, exactly happy. I don't really feel like I can be doing what's best for my clients. Came across AXA and, ran into Mark, which I know a lot of you guys have met. And I felt like AXA was the place for me because not only the culture that Kevin talked about, I mean, the camaraderie that we all have, especially in the St. Louis office, is just incredible. And, but the true feeling of being able to do with our open architecture every single thing in the financial services world. So I felt like I could truly do what was best for our clients, which made me feel like I was actually doing the best job that I could. And I also enjoyed that I could do fee-based planning or commission planning, because there are some cases that, I've enjoyed being commissioned, been very successful. But, it's just really being able to do what, we should be all thinking about doing if you're going to go into the advising side, is putting our clients first and having that upward mobility. Having some talks with our executive vice president, with Mark, about potentially being a vice president before I'm 25. If you would have told me that when I was, freshman or sophomore in college, probably would have laughed at you, especially in the financial world. But, the culture, being able to do what you really should be able to do, is really why I love AXA and then upward mobility.
Yeah, and I will say that AXA does a great job of, when they come to our classes and FPA groups, and they've come already twice this semester to hire students, so again, I thank them for that. Whenever they give a presentation, they basically don't say anything about AXA until maybe the last 5 minutes, and I know a lot of the students in here can attest to that. It's a lot about, doing what you love and the culture, and I think that speaks volumes to Millennials, and I think why Mark and Michael have been so successful, and both of you have been so successful in that. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, and then Sarah and Austin, maybe talk a little bit about what do your firms do in terms of attracting Millennials and those type of things.
I know for me, one of the big things was because of my internship, I was thrilled to be a strategy and need-based financial advisor versus a product-based advisor. So being able to have the open architecture and, have our process that we take clients through, I can go out to different clients, and the first time I meet them, I'll talk to them for 30 minutes, and we won't even talk anything financial. It's a very, hey, I want to get to know you, let's sit down. I don't even pull out a piece of paper most of the time, and then, really it's about building that trust, making them comfortable with us, because when you do start talking about people's money, especially as a 23, 24-year-old, even younger in some of your cases, when you're talking to some older people who have some serious money, there's going to be those walls. So finding a way to kind of break that down, and with AXA, I just felt like it kind of does the talking for me in terms of the company, because we can be so open and because of the process we use.
Agree with all of that. Again, it's really just kind of what brought me to AXA and what's kept me here. I always go back to it's just that teamwork and that camaraderie and just it's culture. And seeing that when I was starting my career at the very beginning, and then being in a VP position now, bringing people into the career, it's the biggest concern for me. Is my first interview with somebody is a phone interview. It's 5-10 minutes, and I'll tell you right on the phone call, basically say, if I like you, if I don't hate talking to you for 5 to 10 minutes, I'll probably have you in for a first interview. And really what I'm looking for and what I want to know more than anything is what you're looking for and what you want. So whatever you guys end up doing, wherever you want to go, you really need to, it's going to make your job selection process a whole lot easier if you know exactly what you want. I look at it from my standpoint as recruiting. I played sports all my life, so it's what I go back to because it's all I know. So, when I was looking at colleges and going through recruiting, if there was a college that I really wanted to go play ball at, I made sure that coach got a handwritten letter after my visit. I took kind of the extra step. And, if there's a candidate that I really want to go after, I make sure you get an email or a phone call or something quick that, just to follow up with you. And when I finally made my selection for where I played football in college, it was, a lot of culture based. It was exactly what I wanted. There was good coaches, good people, a good team, good town, good area, and come to AXA, and it's good coaches, good people, good town. Now that I've moved twice now that I've moved into two different areas that I wasn't born and raised, so you always hear financial advisors should be in their natural market. I've never had a natural market that I got to work, so but you can still kind of make it work, and so I just think it's really, really important for you guys to kind of look at what do you want, and then it's going to make you a whole lot better and more equipped and prepared to go out and find it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as relating to younger professionals, I think PlanCorp does an excellent job. I think it's different from a lot of firms in the area and probably even in the country as far as the number of people there. The majority of us are in our 20s and 30s, I would say. And then we do have a group of the kind of the core group who started the company, and they're kind of in their 50s, 60s. And that's one of the huge draws was the culture. I mean, it's kind of an interesting atmosphere. I mean, we all work in the same St. Louis office. They bring lunch in for us every day, so it's a great opportunity to get to know your coworkers, and it's not a bad perk either because they usually bring some good food in. But I mean, there's this huge opportunity there for young people. I mean, I see myself being an owner of the firm someday, and I hope I can work hard enough and achieve that goal. But our succession plan is that the core group of older advisors have been selling chunks of their business to the younger wealth managers, and I mean, the youngest partner right now is I think in his early to mid 30s. So I think that's another draw to people that want to kind of have more of a stake in their own business, and it also adds kind of shows you that there's upward mobility even in a fee-only type structure where you might be salaried and you're not really eating what you kill and kind of working on that commission-based structures, because once you become a partner, I mean, you get to share in some more of the profits of the company. Yeah, I mean, other than that, we're not actually overly active on social media sites, I would say. We are actually going through a much-needed website rehaul right now. It's been 5+ years or so since that's been done. I think our new website's definitely geared towards kind of the younger generation, and it's going to have more interactive features, I would say. So I think that'll be exciting and be another dimension that we can work with and use as a tool to kind of connect with more younger clients. And then, yeah, I mean, most of our younger clients, honestly, are children and generational descendants of our current clients. And honestly, that's where the majority of our new business comes from existing clients. So that's kind of how we connect with those groups of people.
Would you like to add anything, Sarah?
Yes. Just one little thing.
People are itching to get over to the network.
Yes, I've been watching the clock up there. So one thing, Moneta Group, the company I work at, has a very large number of younger people working there. The partners who, basically there's different teams and there's different partners for the different teams. Those people are 50s, 60s, but all of the client service managers, such as myself, they're all younger. I'm gonna say three-fourths of the company is young. And there's always job openings. The company is always growing, so I mean, if you're interested in an interview, I think there's 20 jobs posted online right now for people our age. And as for clients, our client retention rate is like 97% or something. So we handle parents' money, and then we do free planning for their kids, and then when their kids get the money, we just keep handling money, and it's something that passes down for generations. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thanks. So I would say I'll have a teaser, so I would open it up for questions, but I think it'll be good, just so we're not late, to, you're going to have basically an hour after this to network with all of the Millennial advisors at the Alumni Center in the Bistro Room. All of you are invited. There's free drinks, hors d'oeuvres. It'll be a lot of fun, so hopefully all of you can make that. Another reason to go is we have a department chair candidate, Jonathan Fox from Iowa State, who is interviewing with right now. And yes, this is Jonathan. So we'll give you an hour to talk to Jonathan as well and ask him questions, right? So two great things. So, yeah. Yeah, we're very happy he's here. So with that, let's thank all of our alumni and advisors. Thank you for coming. And again, the reception starts right now, basically in the bistro room at the Alumni Center. So thank you.